the Act Up podcast, where we interview industry professionals who act down. So we have the incomparable Mr. Derek Blanks, photographer, director, content king. My goodness, you have definitely made big moves here in Atlanta.
Thank you.
And your work, one, speaks for itself and has transcended so many platforms as well. I've been hearing about you for forever, for years. So it's such a pleasure to have you here, and to be able to talk to you as well.
I'm honored. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. So you are originally from Jackson, Mississippi.
Jackson, Mississippi.
So how do you get from Jackson, Mississippi, not only to Atlanta, but as an artist? So I will be honest, I don't know much about Jackson, Mississippi. I just drove through. That was it. I didn't actually stop, but I drove through. So how, I don't know many artists that have come from Jackson. I'm sure that there are, but what led you to this work, to photography, to filmmaking, and also to the city of Atlanta?
Okay, so I've always known I wanted to be an artist, first off. So with my parents, they instilled in me as far as going after what I love and being disciplined and going to school for it, and they supported me. So as far as when I was able to write and draw, I remember going to kindergarten and turning on the back of the paper after I write my ABCs and drawing instantly.
Wow.
Most people don't know that, but my background is actually illustration and fine art and drawing. That's kind of like why I mentioned that.
Yeah.
But growing up in Mississippi, I most definitely was in a bubble. And the stereotypes of Mississippi and the racism and the Ku Klux Klan and being in the country. I didn't really experience any of that because I went to school with a mixed group of individuals, and I lived in the capital.
Gotcha.
So it was most definitely smaller, but we had all the fast food. We had the culture. We did our family vacation in the summers and all that.
Nice.
So we traveled. Most Black people moved from Mississippi to Chicago. So we traveled to Chicago sometimes. We traveled everywhere with our relatives, like my Aunt Bob and Uncle Benny. So we really experienced that. But I've always known that I wanted to do something and I wanted to leave and be an artist. It kind of just came natural to me. So when I was growing up, my classmates would always kid with me or joke with me and be like, man, you're going to be famous. And I'm like, growing up, I'm looking at like Van Gogh, all these artists and starving artists. I'm like, I never heard of a famous artist,
Yeah.
So I didn't believe it. But that wasn't the reason I wanted to be an artist anyway. It's just because that's all I think about.
Right.
So growing up, I was always focused, and I knew I wanted to be an artist. So I went to an academic and performing arts school in Jackson, Mississippi, where I studied painting, drawing, photography, sculpture, all that. And my mom supported me. You had to be tested for it. So I remember going and doing the still life, which basically, for people who don't know, is a collection of objects that you draw in real life. And my dad also instilled in me and enrolled me into private oil paintings.
Wow.
And I've always kind of had a business sense, so I've always charged my classmates for like caricatures, and when I started taking photos, I was charging them for photo shoots. I did my senior portraits. I was like, okay, let me put some foil in an umbrella and get a hot lamp. I remember jokingly, going over to one of my classmates, and I kind of rigged these lights because in the studio they have strobe lights. Back in the day, they call them hot lights because they get hot. So, everybody had carpet in their living room and all that. I went to Home Depot, got my little silver aluminum light with the light bulb in it
Mm-hmm.
and rigged it with the umbrella. I remember sitting the hot lamp down on the carpet and burning the hole in my, you know. But
Yeah.
I've always been kind of involved in the art and the business aspect, you know, even from like friendship bracelets, learned how to cut my hair, was cutting my classmates' hair, all that. So art was kind of instilled in me, and I've always known that I wanted to kind of go outside of Atlanta or wherever of Mississippi.
Yeah.
Landed in it. I went to school in Baltimore, Maryland. So
Yeah.
I went to school there, and I ended up in Atlanta because of the Black people there and the success. And, you know, Atlanta was really like the melting pot or the place where all Black people went in the South that wanted to have that city living and be successful with going. So I moved to Atlanta.
Nice. You know, with everything that you just mentioned, I love that your family and your parents were supportive of your art.
Mm-hmm.
And not just supportive, like they invested in your art. Like they
Mm-hmm.
put you on a path toward that. So I think that's so, like, what's a special blessing, you know, to give your child to see that and then to also invest in nurturing that is really special.
Most definitely. I'm so grateful for them because they really instilled in me the importance of that and the importance of, you know, working hard. And, you know, this day and age, a lot of the kids just give up too easily.
Mm-hmm.
And they really instill that you have to put the time in for it and just keep working hard at it. So I'm most definitely grateful for that. And financially, you know,
Yeah.
my mom worked 2 jobs. My dad worked 2 jobs.
Wow.
You know, they made us buy our own first cars.
Nice.
And I have a twin brother and an older brother.
Oh,
so
okay.
we all had Saturns because we could afford it.
Yes. Oh,
So-
Saturns. Yes. Nice. So you are, in my mind, like the preeminent photographer to the stars.
Mhm.
So can you tell me about like your first celebrity client? Like I'm imagining you're kind of just starting, making a name for you. Like who was your first name client that you had? And what was that like for you? Were you nervous? What was that like?
You know, most definitely, I remember who it was. I was working the full time at Scientific Games, lottery tickets
Oh, wow.
in Alpharetta. And I was doing photography and painting on the side. So I got approached by my publicist at the time, she was coming up and she had a clientele and she also was connected to Ludacris.
Oh.
So I met him at his foundation and I did his first energy drink, Tantra.
Okay.
So he was my first client. And I was extremely nervous. Like most photographers probably do this. They start off shooting red carpets at events
Yeah.
and stuff. So I met him there and I got the opportunity to shoot his campaign and I was nervous. But for some reason, it's like whenever you're destined to do something, when you get behind, you know, the wheel of that or whatever, it just comes natural and you kind of just go into a different zone.
Yeah.
So he was my first client, my
Nice.
first celebrity client.
Nice. And it has definitely taken off from there, sir. It's
Well,
amazing.
thank you.
So you are, you know, I think one of the things that you're known for is your infamous like alter ego shoots.
Mm-hmm.
And so many people have done them. So what did that come from? Like what inspired you to start producing these alter ego shoots? And have you ever done like a showcase of them? Because I'm sure, you know, that would be an amazing, you know, exhibit, you know?
You know, this day and age, thank God for digital.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, I was thinking like, where did it come from? I think it probably all spanned from me being a twin and I didn't realize it. But we're fraternal.
Okay.
So we don't look alike, but we always grew up. There was 3 of us. My mom used to dress us all alike, so they used to think we were triplets. Another story. But I went to college. Like I mentioned, I was introduced to traditional photography, and I was thinking, hey, I've been telling people all along it was from Top Model, but then I was going back through my stuff, and I was like, hey, I was doing this back when I was in college.
Yeah.
When we did traditional before Photoshop, they called it a double exposure. And you would get in the dark room and you would capture the image in the dark room. cover the side of the paper so it doesn't expose it, change the negative, and then uncover the other side and do it traditionally in the darkroom. So I have portraits like that of myself, self-portraits. So I realized then that, you know, I had been doing it beforehand, but then top model phase just went crazy.
Yeah.
And I used to watch it every week just to see the photo shoots.
Yeah.
So when I did that, I started to do some testing because I was working corporate and I wanted to build my brand, had a couple of celebs here and there, reached out to Eva Pickford. I'm trying to think, back then, was it Instagram? It probably wasn't. It probably was like MySpace or something like that.
Yeah.
So I reached out to her, and it was her cousin who does her makeup, Terrell Mullen. He's a celebrity makeup artist. So I did my first test shoot there, established that relationship with her, and rewind, I did my first celebrity coffee table book with this writer named Rachel Vassell, which was called Daughters of Men.
Okay.
And they were successful African-American women and their dads. So I got to meet like Sanaa Lathan, Lisa Ray, Melinda Williams. It all started from her vision and her dream of doing a coffee table book. And then they loved the images so much before, which they were just successful women, they needed the endorsements of celebrity. So she got a publishing deal from it, and they was like, okay, we need celebrities in there. Next thing I knew, we were in Atlanta, we were flying, and we'll be in Lisa Ray's house. Wow. Then we'll be driving the same day to Tracy Edmonds, like all over LA, and my clientele grew because I was so accustomed to getting the shot and lighting it, and I was quick. So, long story short, her project came out, and they loved it so much they put it in color, but because I was new, they decided not to put me on the cover as far as photos by.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, I'm gonna do my own thing. So that's how it started, where I was like, okay, I'm gonna do my own project. Let me do alter egos. Yeah. So I reached out to Eva, Lisa Ray, other people, and it was like a snowball effect. This when blogs were very popular, like the YBF, Sandra Rose, Media Takeout, all that. And the celebrities started using it for PR. So they was like, I want to do this alter ego. And I was broke as far as paying. I had my ride or die team, like hair and makeup people. Yeah. But I was traveling from Atlanta to LA, shooting 5 celebrities in the small studio in an hour every so often. So it was really surreal too. So it was very surreal. So I collected all these people in hopes of doing a coffee table book. But back then it was so expensive to do one. You had to have a publishing deal and all this. So it never came out. But I still continued to shoot because I'm like, okay, eventually I'm going to hold on to this. Now they have self-publishing routes that I could do it. The photos that I've collected and shot alter egos, probably about 60, 70 alter egos all over the country. So I plan on doing a traveling show one day. Nice. But it really built up my clientele, and I decided to do an art show because that was the whole premises outside of the coffee table book. So I had one in Atlanta, and it blew my mind. Like, that's when I knew I had something special. Yeah. Because everybody came out. T.I. had gone to jail. He had just got out of jail. I had this art gallery show, and it was huge. CeeLo Green, Janelle Monáe, Brian Barber, director. All these people came out, and I was like, oh my God. Like, I didn't know half these people, and I was like, I knew them, but I never worked with them. I was like, wow, I can't believe all these people came out for this show. Another thing, as far as another way I got to where I am, is by testing, and testing meaning free shoots. So I shot Nene Leakes on the Housewives, and I propositioned her, and I was like, hey, I did this amazing alter ego show. Let me do it for the Housewives of Atlanta. She's like, okay, cool. I don't care as long as I could be the director. And I'm like, you could be whatever you want. So I did that, and the same process again. I spent all this money. I bought about 40 custom frames, had to find a house. We had so many issues on the day of the show, from renting a house that was probably The water and air wasn't on because it wasn't sold yet.
Wow.
So all those things were worked up to the last minute. I
Oh my
remember like
gosh.
packing my truck up, my assistant and all 40 frame stack. They try to go down the hill of the side of the house, and the truck gets stuck.
Oh,
So
no.
we had all these obstacles,
Yeah.
but it paid off because every single time that show aired, we would get like 50 phone calls.
Wow.
They aired it for years and years. They even still air it now. But I gained like Sony Music, Ebony, Essence. I started shooting for all of that.
Wow.
It was like the floodgates just open.
What advice would you give to aspiring photographers? You know, because I feel like you've reached a level that I think so many people would dream of. So what advice would you give them who are aspiring to do some of the things that you're doing?
I would most definitely say, like, block out the outer noise. Like, focus and make sure that your intentions are pure and it's truly what you want to do. You're not trying to become the next me, or you're not trying to become someone famous. That goes with being a director, anything. Like, make sure that your passion is there. And because there are going to be hard times. Even when you have a name, a lot of times I deal with celebrities in my clientele, and people assume that celebrities have a lot of money and they can get whatever they want. And I sympathize for them because I know, like, you don't see how much it takes to hold that brand, and you don't see the outside family that's coming in and they're trying to support, and them waiting for large amounts of money. And them living like their bank account low and all that. So you have to make sure that that's what you want to do and that's what your passion is for. It also, you also have to be smart about, you know, like when you're an entrepreneur, and hold funds available, or just try to make sure you have the funding to do different things. But you can't give up, and you have to be innovative as far as creating trends, following trends, making it your own. And the most important thing is just don't give up.
It feels like you didn't wait for people to call you. Like the fact that you were like, you offered to do like a test shoot. Like you have been making paths for yourself, which is incredible. Even like so I follow you on Instagram, and I've noticed, I'm like, oh, you're turning the camera on yourself a lot more. So it's, yes, we still see the celebrity, you know, work, but I've seen a lot more of you, you know? So, and I love that you're doing that, because I think that so many times, like artists, we kind of get stuck and comfortable kind of being in the background. But I love that you are having the courage to like make yourself the subject. So how did you make that transition to being like, okay, I'm going to, you know, it's the content king, and you have great content, and it's not photography, it's film too. So like, how did you make that transition to turning the camera on yourself?
You know, I think it started from just me being an artist and trying to express myself, like, honestly. But I think the biggest thing was that I just followed the trend as far as what was popping at the time. And, you know, I would see other photographers and before me, as far as I would see other white photographers doing the same thing, like building brands, building their brand and putting themselves out there. And, you know, my agent at the time, he was like, he's old school, and he didn't get it. Like, he'd be like, we need to see your work. We need to see this. But I also realized at the point where social media was going from being just watching your insight and all that, what people gravitated towards and what they wanted to see. That's why it's called social media and all that, because they really want to see a reflection of you. And I realized that a long time ago, that branding yourself versus putting picture perfect photography. Brand yourself, Derek Blanks Photography. Do this, do that, but always brand yourself. So I realized that I am an extension of my brand. What really sealed the deal for me, like, I did question, and I'm going to be honest, I did question me putting myself out there. At first, I was very timid about the situation, and you know, I feel like the timing with God and everything too. Like, I met a trainer who taught me the importance of how to eat and how to exercise. And not exercising all that beforehand, but his insight on what foods do changed me, and it changed my body and appearance instantly. So it made me realize that, and other people complimenting what I look like and what I'm wearing and stuff like that, that, you know, maybe it was like everything happened and there were signs, like, you know, working with Teddy, you know, like we work with this stylist, Jose, who's kind of like a brother to me now.
Yeah.
But he would be like, man, you need to model, blase, you know, I need to style you for this and that. And the third, you know, I had a birthday shoot.
Yeah.
And I just hired him for it. And then things just started snowballing. My clients would see my work, like Candy Burris and Jessica, Judy. She would see my work and they would hire me for their content.
Yeah.
So instantly, when I started putting myself out there, my clients started hiring me not only for that, but retainer packages where I would do all their content for the year.
Nice.
And then it was just like a no-brainer to me. After that, agencies like ad agencies like Fly Hip agents, this TKT agents, who happens to be one of their clients happened to be Jeep. Thanks to me, I ironically, but they happened to be Jeep.
Wow.
They propositioned me. That was like, okay, we see your content. We would love to pitch to Jeep for this to try to secure them as a client. So I tried that with them at one point, and it didn't work because the people they wanted me to shoot the Silver Fox guys, but nobody presented me with any material, meaning footage that I could utilize. They just went absent. So it didn't work out. So it came back to me again, and I was like, well, I could see how I could use the Jeep and refurbish the content that I've done on my own and shoot new footage and infuse it. Fast forward 2 months later, I get a phone call saying, hey, we got the gig and Jeep wants you as the face for it.
Wow.
So
wow.
Yeah, so ironically, it was crazy because I've been on several sets. You know, I'm a creative director for Missy Elliott, and my first video was Drip Demeanor with her. But anyway, long story. Of course, there was like a $300,000 budget to produce a video shoot for Missy Elliott, which is a lot for now. But when I got on the set of Jeep and the budget was that much and the production was that large and I was starring in it and directing it.
Wow.
And it just made me realize, like, wow, like, because I had to pinch myself being on set, but it just made me realize that everything is possible.
Yeah.
You know, and then from there, I started working with content creators that I influenced and inspired by, like this guy named Steven, who's a 4-figure big and tall model, and another guy. And one day we did some content. Cam, he's the president of Bigger Picture, which is basically like showing a new outlook on 4-figure men models in the industry. So he hired me to capture Fashion Week. So after that, I did some work with him, and we were sitting down, and it was like, man, you know, you really sleeping on yourself. I'm like, how am I sleeping on myself? I'm like, I'm doing everything I love. I'm doing photography. I'm doing this. Yeah. He was like, man, you could be modeling right now, as far as you could be repped by somebody. You was like, you know, he was like, you're the GOAT. And I hear that all the time, but, you know, it's a saying. So I just take it as that. Honestly, I feel like I'm grateful. I could be better, and I'm not nowhere where I desire to be in the end. So long story short, he put a list together for me of agencies, modeling agencies. And I got like a call back from 2 agencies. One was a really big agency at the time, but it made me realize that, you know, maybe in my later life, things happen for a reason.
Yes.
You know, that anything was possible. So I just embraced it and look at everything as an art form and as a brand expansion. And I'm like, okay, anything is possible. Let me not turn down any opportunity. And just live my best life and always strive to be an artist. So
that is incredible.
Thank
just to hear that story of you betting on yourself
you.
and ending up with being Jeep campaign, the face of it is incredible. And I was gonna say, like, your fashion game is on point too.
Well, thank you.
And I love how your art is not, you don't limit yourself. Like, you don't limit yourself to just being labeled as photographer. You're expanding you do illustrations and and film and fashion, so it's really, and modeling, so I love how you have and it's very rare to see artists who kind of are willing to step out of that box. But I love that you've been kind of willing to try other things. I think that's really inspiring for artists,
Well, thank you.
to not be defined by one thing. So do you have a shoot, like a favorite shoot, like this has been my quintessential favorite work thus far?
You know what? I have different shoots for different reasons. My favorite shoot would probably be from CHAKA Khan. It's not my favorite final session, but the experience of working with her.
Yeah.
I've worked with her several times, but this shoot in particular, the Alter Ego shoot, brought me tons of new clients. So I met CHAKA Khan doing the Alter Ego, but then she hired me, Upscale hired me first to do her cover for Upscale magazine, but she also hired me for some tour stuff. So this was an Upscale shoot. So I remember I'm going to LA to shoot her, and we had the V-flats. Full circle moment, I just thought about this. But just like I mentioned, me burning a hole in my classmate's carpet, the lights were too close to the V-flats. The V-flats are the boards that block the light on set.
Yeah.
And this wasn't my fault this time, but it still happened. So one of my assistants had the light too close to the V-flat, and it caught on fire.
Oh, my God.
On the set.
Oh, no.
So CHAKA Khan was like, I'm too damn hot. So how she brushed it off. And it was true. Like, CHAKA Khan, even now, she's attractive. She exudes sexiness and confidence. So, her energy, you would think that CHAKA Khan would be like about that soul music. But she's really a hippie. Like, she don't want to hear that on her downtime time. But her energy and aura, and she's iconic. So Absolutely. The whole time, and she just being that cool, hands down, one of my favorite shoots. I can't say without working with Missy Elliott, of course, because anything we do, I'm just amazed that she trusts me as far as being her creative director, and she won't go on any set without me.
Wow.
And it says so much because I looked up to her when I got the call from Missy, her assistant, hit me, and I was like, I'm not ready for that. Because I'm just looking at Missy Elliott and how colorful and extravagant her visuals are. And I'm just like, I'm not ready for that. But that's when God will tell you, like, yes, you are.
Yeah.
And I just never thought in a million years I'd be working with her still to this day.
Nice.
And, we got to travel the world. I've been to Saudi Arabia with her.
Wow.
I've been on her tour. I have
which was phenomenal. I saw her at concert last year. It was incredible. Yeah.
So, it's just surreal. But her particularly, her shoots and her signing off on the value of me, like a compliment she always gives me is that I just know how to capture Black women.
Oh, wow.
And, I seen her stories, and I seen like her not being accepted like when she was younger. And I think they didn't want her to sing. I think they used Raven Simone. I can't remember, but the full detail. But basically, it was Missy's voice, and like Raven Simone was lip syncing it, or whatever the case was.
Yeah.
When she was younger, because they didn't like her image.
Wow.
So her image is so extremely important to her, and that she trusts me, and like she won't move without my approval for the most part. So to me, any compliment is huge, but the fact that I just look up to her visual so much and she relies on me states a lot as far as, what I can do.
That is so dope. I love it.
Thank you.
All right, so these are questions I ask every guest, and I'm happy to extend these questions to you. So what has been your favorite age so far, and why?
I would say right now, 47, because I'm 47.
Oh, okay, nice, yeah.
I just feel like My age now is where I really don't give a fuck.
Yeah, you can curse. It's okay. You can curse.
You
yes.
know, about what people think. You know,
Mhm.
before you think about what somebody's gonna think of you if you do this or if you do that. And when you get a certain age, you just feel like, you know, I've been there.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I was younger, I always thought that the reason I didn't get something because I wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
And now I have a different perspective. It wasn't my time.
Yeah.
So, you know, I feel like physically fit. I'm more healthier now. You know, I know the value of what you put in your body.
Yeah.
And, you know, I just feel like even though I get back pains and knee pains and all that, even with that, you just learn how to cope with those situations and prevent like stretching and do things. So I just feel like my prime right now is my age.
Nice. So if you have a lot of hyphens, you know, like model, photographer, you know, director. But if you weren't an artist, what would you be doing?
I would most definitely be a teacher.
Okay, nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay. And so brunch or happy hour?
I can eat breakfast all day.
Me
so most
too.
Definitely brunch.
I love a good breakfast. Okay, good.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you love about doing all the things that you do here, specifically here in Atlanta and the Southeast? Because you could have been anywhere doing this.
Right.
You know?
I love Atlanta because it's still the South.
Yeah.
You get that Southern feeling, get the soul food, you get the love and warmth from our people and from others. And the climate, what was the question now? I lost track.
It's like, what do you love about being an artist in the Southeast in particular?
I just feel like Atlanta is very chocolate. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I feel like Atlanta, we're in our own bubble.
Yeah.
We don't really care what others think.
Yeah.
You know, we have our stereotypes about Atlanta, but it's like, okay, we live here, so you guys are in the situation you are.
Yes.
So, you know, I just feel like Atlanta is home for me. I've been here since 2000, but I've grown here, and I feel like, you know, the acceptance here.
Absolutely.
And I've seen the growth in Atlanta as well. Like, you can live here comfortably.
Yes.
And it's just the shit, you know?
I agree. I love it. What's the most challenging thing that you've done lately?
I just started introducing myself to 3D modeling for my visuals. So learning that has been a challenge for me. But I find that overall, just staying fresh and not staying in that box, pushing myself to not be redundant on the things I create and trying to find a new take and stepping outside of myself and reevaluating it and adjusting.
Okay. Yeah, I love that. And lastly, what makes you feel alive?
I think that art and life most definitely make me feel alive. Like, I came in this world thinking art, and I can't go anywhere without thinking of it.
Yeah.
Like, visually, like, I'm sure like musicians can't go anywhere without hearing music, or it's the same thing. Like, most definitely, I would say what makes me feel alive is being a creative.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Derek Blanks, you are incredible. You're inspiring. I love how everything you do is so creative and so new, and how you're challenging yourself as a creative. And you don't even have to, because you proved yourself a million times. But thank you so much for coming on the podcast. You were incredible. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Give it up for Derek Blanks.
Thank you, guys.
Awesome.